Hey everyone, I was going to make a Beatles update video with showing all kinds of vinyl that I got recently, but then I realized one of these items that I wanted to concentrate on was going to take a long time to discuss properly and it may actually warrant having a video of its own. So I'm going to talk just about this one item for this video, and it's something known as the Beatles Alpha and Omega box set. And it's very strange because if you follow this video all the way through to the end, you'll be kind of amazed at the history of this. To start with, I was in my favorite record store, and for 2 days in a row, two box sets were just laying around. They were in terrible shape, as you can see. I mean, you got the edge hanging off here of the box. They're as flat as pancakes. They're not even really worth buying. And I was interested because I think I had one of these in the early days in late 70s or something like that. It's the Alpha Omega box set, and I was saying to myself, well, it would be nice to have this, but it's in such terrible condition. Why would I buy these? And I didn't really remember them being in two parts. This is like... this one here says the Beatles Volume 1 stereo. And this one here, again, they're ready to fall apart, says Beatles Volume 2 in stereo. Now, like I say, for a couple of days I just looked at them on the side. They weren't even stocked anywhere. They're just thrown on the side. Finally, after the second day, the owner of the store said to me, "Are you interested in this?" And I said, "No, not in this condition. I probably wouldn't be interested in, no." And he said, "But why don't you just take them for nothing?" You know, he says, "I'm going to get rid of them anyway." So he gave me these for nothing. Now, the history of this gets confusing because I didn't realize till I got home that they didn't say Alpha Omega on them. They say Volume 1 and Volume 2. And that's very strange because I remember this set being called Alpha and Omega, and it had an Alpha and Omega symbol there. So why were these called Volume 1 and Volume 2? What was the deal with it? I looked up online to try to get some information, and I heard there was very many variations on these albums. Some of them were printed in a black and white cover, some of them with this pictures in black and white. I think there were a lot of knockoffs, so there's a lot of variations, different versions, and bootlegs of bootlegs, if you will. So what these consist of is there are 4 records in each one of these, so that's 8 sides, and they attempted to put Beatles songs, all different types of Beatles songs, and even some solo Beatles songs in semi-alphabetical order. It starts out in alphabetical order and then it changes. I mean, you get a weird assortment of songs here. I mean, you get stuff like If I Fell, and then you get Hello Goodbye, and then you get Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band into Tell Me Why, and since this came out in 1972, you get like some solo songs that were big up to the time. You know, and I say it was early on in the game, so you only got stuff like John's Imagine and Paul's Uncle Albert and George's Bangladesh. These are the songs that were on here. So the deal was, these bootlegs were shown on television and advertised and sold. And when Apple got wind of this, they actually wanted to combat this, and they wanted to sue to get it off the market. And what they did was they put out their own answer to these albums. And those were the famous Red and Blue albums, 1962 to 66 and 1967 to 1970. That's the reason that they put those albums out, to combat this release. And now the quality on this, some of it's good and some of it's bad. Actually, I'm pretty sure that the source for these masters, and this is 1972 again, don't forget, was just needle drops from other records. You actually have other Beatle records, probably the U.S. albums, being on here as the source. I mean, you'll get the echoes on some songs, like if you have, I can't really look at all those songs now. A song like, say, Roll Over Beethoven or something from the Beatles' second album is on here with the echo and the Dave Dexter sound effects. But so some of the songs sound good. I played one of these albums and they sound good. But here's the other part of this. Okay, after I pick up this thing, Beatles Volume 1, Beatles Volume 2 in terrible condition, I go to another record store a few days later, and what a coincidence. They have hanging up in their store on the wall this And it has the original title, Beatles Alpha Omega. Not Beatles Volume 1, Beatles Volume 2, but just this one. And the box is in the best shape of any box I've seen of this. It's very hard to find these in decent shape, but this one is pretty good. And I bought this as well. Don't know where to go with this at this point. This is the way I remember it, you know, the Beatles Alpha Omega set. And there's subtle differences here. Like if you look at this, for example, the one that says Alpha Omega, you have Paul's face here is blue and John's is yellow, whereas on the one that's titled Beatles Volume 2, you got the opposite. You got Paul is yellow and John is in blue. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know what to make of these, but I thought they were interesting curios. The records themselves, I mean, these, the volume, this Volume 1 or Volume 2, I don't know, mixed up. One of these sets here, you get the labels like that. Even the ones that say the Beatles Volume 1 and Beatles Volume 2, they have the Alpha Omega logo on the label. Anyway, and that's like a kind of pink color. 4 records. And in the other volume here, I might have the wrong covers on the wrong ones. I don't know. This is like a gold or tan. I don't know what you call it. Again, it's got the Beatles Alpha Omega symbol on there. And just a weird like selection of songs here. Like this one's just at random. Starts out with Mean Mr. Mustard as the first track. And then it goes into Love Me Do as the second track. Twist and Shout. Please Please Me. P.S. I Love You, Dizzy Miss Lizzie. Then we go into Rocky Raccoon. And like I said, you got Imagine on one of these, Uncle Albert on another one, Apple Scruffs by George on one of these. It's a real nice hodgepodge. I mean, if you're in the mood to play a record and just like listen to whatever happens to come up at any time, that's fun. I like kind of like listening to like a mishmash of that, or a shuffle kind of thing, you know, assorted songs, you don't know what you're getting next. So it's very, very interesting, this whole thing. I don't know why you have Beatles Volume 1 and Beatles Volume 2 in 2 sets, then you just have the Alpha Omega the way I remembered it. So, you know, so that puts the lid on this video. 1972 release. The following year in 1973, Apple sued and was able to get this taken off the television market, and they put out the red and blue albums in order to fight this and put out their own product. It's interesting, an interesting curio for Beatle collectors. Beatles Alpha Omega. And thanks for watching.